the talents and the strengths that God gave you, if you share them with others, if you give of yourself to make a difference in the lives of the people around you, that is how you will find your greatest joy and greatest happiness.
Hey, what's up, guys? We're here with another episode of the Jewish Teens Podcast, episode 4, and today we're going to be interviewing Rabbi Simon, who is a Chabad Shliach in Teaneck, New Jersey. Thank you, Rabbi Simon, for agreeing to come on the podcast.
This is my greatest honor and pleasure to be here.
So the first question I have for you is, what life events and, basically which life events brought you to where you are today?
Well, I would say my entire life, every event ultimately results in me being here today. But if you're asking what life events happened that resulted in me being a shliach, I could tell you it wasn't necessarily a life event. It was more from the time I was very young. I very much desired that my life should make a difference in the lives of others. I didn't just want to live a life for myself. I wanted to live a life that made a difference. I wanted to feel that the world was a different place from my having been here. And I felt that being a shliach gave me and gives me the opportunity to impact and touch and affect as many lives as I possibly can. And to be in the Rebbe's army is an incredible schus, a great merit, and something that I wanted to do. And to have a position like shliach, where not only are you representing the Rebbe and you're part of the Rebbe's army, which I said is such a big schus, but it gives me an opportunity to be in a position of being a community rabbi, which empowers me and enables me to really affect a lot of different people's lives. So that's really, it was more that, it wasn't necessarily any particular event, but it was just more that sort of underlying ideal that I wanted my life to make a difference in the lives of others.
Wow. So you see, it's kind of, I wouldn't say the same exact, but even the reason that we're doing this podcast, for me personally, was very similar. I always, I saw other people making the wrong decisions or struggling with certain things in life. And as a teen, I'm only 17, and, I don't have that many, I didn't have that many resources. So what can already a 17-year-old do to help others? And then I thought of this podcast that Baruch Hashem has been growing ever since we started. Ever since our first episode, we've got new equipment, got
amazing.
A better setting.
Amazing.
But yeah, I feel like this is a way. This whole podcast thing is a way for me to somewhat. I'm not even sure who's watching this, but if it's any person or any teen that's watching this and their life becomes impacted in whatever way possible, then it's all worth it for me.
If you're watching out there, leave a comment below so Yehuda knows he's making an impact.
So my second question I have for you today is, well, I'm sure it's not a secret. You donated your kidney and a bit of your liver, or most of your liver, to a fellow Yid.
Two different people. Two different times, yeah.
Maybe you could share with us the story of, how that came to be, or, what inspired you or motivated you to do such a thing?
So I first donated my kidney, and that was in 2009. And I'll tell you the story that led up to that. It wasn't anything that I had ever thought about. It wasn't anything that I'd ever researched. It wasn't anything that I ever saw myself doing or even knew about. And then one day I was sitting in my office. This was in August of 2008, and I got an email from a woman named Chaya Lipschitz, who dedicates her life to finding kidney matches for people who need kidneys. And she sends out emails to different community groups all around the world, and including she sends emails to an email group called Teaneck Shuls, which is basically the Teaneck Jewish community. And every few months, I would see an email from her about, somebody needs a kidney. And I would see those emails, and I never thought I could answer that. I could respond to that. I mean, at that time, I'm a father of 9 children. My children are all young. I didn't think that was anything I would ever think about doing. And then in August of 2008, I got an email from her. And that email changed my life. Normally, when I would see her emails, they'd come every few months, and I would read them. I'd say, "Oh, it's so sad," and then I would go on to the next email. Then this one in August of 2008, I read it, and I just froze, and I could not move on to the next email, and I just sat there staring at that email. And why was that email different from the other ones that she sent? Because this one was a 12-year-old girl who needed a kidney. And at that time, my oldest daughter was 13, and my second oldest daughter was 11. And so that literally could have been my daughter. And I just remember thinking, I had no idea anything about kidney donation, but I just remember thinking, I can't just let this 12-year-old girl suffer, or God forbid worse. And it said that she was O positive, and I knew that I was O positive. And so, without knowing anything, I just picked up the phone and called the number and called Chaya Lipschitz. And I left her a message. And I said, "This is Rabbi Simon. I'm the Chabad rabbi in Teaneck. And I saw your email about the 12-year-old girl, and I want a test to donate to her." And I thought at that time, donating a kidney is like bone marrow. Like, they have these bone marrow drives. If God forbid a person needs a bone marrow transplant, and it's a 1 in a million match. It's like a lottery ticket type of match, right? So you have to have the same kind of genetic background, and you have to have very similar DNA. That's why oftentimes if there's somebody, let's say, for example, in the Jewish community who needs, they'll test around the Jewish community because they need somebody with very similar DNA. It's a 1 in a million match. So I thought kidney donation was the same thing. So I thought the least I can do for this 12-year-old girl, I can at least test. It's a 1 in a million. I can at least offer to test. So I offered to test. A few hours later, I'm walking out of the Chabad house. I'll never forget this. And my phone rings, and it's her. It's Chaya Lipschitz. And she calls me. And she says, "Rabbi Simon, before you say anything, I just want to ask you 2 things. You understand we're talking about donating a kidney. We're not talking about donating blood. You understand that, right?" And I said, "No, I got it." And then without me saying anything, she said, "And it's not like bone marrow. If you have the same blood type," which I knew we did from the email, "there's a very good chance you're going to match." And I just remember thinking, what did I get myself into? That was my first thought. What did I just get myself into? But then I told her right away, "Okay, I'm on my way home. Let me go home and speak to my wife, and I'll get back to you tomorrow morning." And I went home and told my wife. And the truth is, my wife is a tzaddikus. And she's amazing and incredible. And I told her this, and she was right away supportive. Let's do research. And we spent the whole night researching kidney donation on the internet. And we found, which was, I had no idea, that it's a minor operation. It's not a major operation. It's all laparoscopic, which means they don't even open you up. It's an easy recovery. There's no side effects, nothing, long-term issues. And you could live a long, healthy life with just 1 kidney. And the risks were so small, just the risk of going under general anesthesia. And the reward of saving this girl's life was so large that I felt like we take risks in everything we do. Every time we get in a car, we take a risk. Every time we get in a plane, we cross the street. We walk out of our house. We don't wrap ourselves in bubble wrap because we don't want to take a risk of hurting ourselves. We take risks because we take educated, measured risks because the reward of living our lives outweighs the risk of God forbid, getting hit by a car when I'm crossing the street. It's so small, the risk. So I figure here the same thing. The reward of saving this girl's life is so infinitely greater than the tiny risk of kidney donation, uh, I knew immediately. And my wife was amazing the entire time, supporting me 100%. So I called Chai Lipschitz back the next day, and I said, okay, I'm ready to do it. And she said, oh, somebody else stepped in front of you, and he's already doing it.
Oh wow.
Yeah. So I remember thinking, my wife was like relieved. Okay, we said yes, we did the right thing, but somebody else. But I was disappointed. And I remember thinking, to myself, why am I disappointed?
It's like my feeling when I put out a video and it only has 10 views, you know?
No, don't be disappointed by that, because you never know how many views it'll get, and you never know from those 10 people if it changes one person's life.
Yeah,
it was all worth it.
that is true.
So I felt like, and I'm thinking to myself, why am I disappointed? 24 hours ago, I didn't even think I could do this. And now I'm disappointed that I'm not doing it. And I realized the disappointment was at two levels. One level was, here I had an opportunity to save another human being's life. And a child, 12-year-old child, to save a life. And I let it slip through my fingers. But the other reason why I was disappointed was that I realized that I speak to my children all the time about our values and about why we're on shlichus and why we work with the community, and we don't only live life for ourselves, and we're meant to make a difference in the lives of others, and we're meant to be selfless and giving, etc. But a parent's greatest lecture is the way they live their life. Because you lecture to your kids and it goes, you know this, I don't have to tell you. You don't listen to your parents' lecture. It goes in one ear and out the other. But if you think about the people who've inspired you, it's not their lectures, it's the way they live. And so here I had an opportunity to be a living example to my children of everything I believe in, of all the values that I cherish. And it slipped through my fingers. And so I told her, if you have another child on your list, keep me in mind. So she calls me a few months later, and she says she has another not a child, but it's a mother. It's a mother, and she has high antibodies, and she can't find a match. Will I go test for her? So, okay, it's not a child, but it's a mother. Yes, I went to go test. I go to test for her. I'm not a match. Get a call back a week later, not a match. Okay? A few weeks later, she calls me again, a single Israeli man in Columbia Presbyterian, right over the George Washington Bridge. Will you test for him? And at this point, it's not a child, it's not a mother, it's a single. But at this point, I'm thinking, I want to do this. And I don't want to be the one to say, I'll donate to this person and not that person. So whoever she tells me, I figure at this point, whoever she gives me, I'm going to donate to. So I go to test for the single Israeli man. I get a call a week later, not a match. And I'm thinking, I can't give his kidney away. I'm trying to donate it. I can't. Anyway, a few months later, it's already Purim of 2009. She calls me again. And she says she has another potential donor, a recipient, a father of 10. And a father of 10, I'm a father of 9. Big okay. Would I test for him? So I go to test for him, and a week goes by, 2 weeks go by, 3 weeks go by. I don't hear anything. Finally, Erev Pesach, I'm schlepping seltzer and romaine lettuce from Stop and Shop to the Chabad Seder that were the public Seder that we're making, the community Seder, and I get a phone call from the hospital. Rabbi Simon, you're a match. That was one of the happiest phone calls I ever got. And I just thought at that time, they don't tell him that he has a match because they allow the potential donor to back out at any time. So they don't tell him until I go through all my testing, until it's right before the surgery, to make sure that if I should feel comfortable that if I want to back out, no one's going to put pressure on me. But I knew I wasn't going to back out. But I have no idea who my recipient is. It's a stranger to me. So I called this Chaya Lipschitz, and I told her, because she knew who the recipient was. She made the match. And I said, just let them know before Yom Tov. Because once Pesach starts, they're not going to, we can't use the phone, etc. I wanted them to go into Yom Tov knowing that their father, their husband, is going to be okay. So I told her, please get a hold of them before Yom Tov and tell them that they have a match. and she was able to do that. I went through after Pesach. I went through all of the testing, and then we ended up setting a date for the kidney donation, which ended up being in August, because for scheduling reasons. And in August of 2009, I donated my kidney to that man, and it was amazing because he was so sick before the donation. His kidneys were not functioning at all, and the kidney is what takes all the toxins out of your blood and out of your body, and so his body was filled with toxins. So immediately after the surgery, he felt better.
Oh, wow.
I asked him, when did you know that you were okay? He said, the moment I woke up out of the anesthesia. He said, across from his hospital bed, there's like a whiteboard. It has the nurses' names, whoever's taking care of him. And before the surgery, he was unable to read the whiteboard. It was just blurry. And he woke up out of the anesthesia and he looked and he could read the whiteboard. And he knew he's okay. And the doctor told him that kidney was such a perfect match. If I didn't know better, I would have thought that was your brother who donated to you. Because, the kidney is what produces urine, right? The doctor told him on the operating table, that kidney, as soon as they plugged it into him, started producing urine immediately on the operating table. Oh, wow. This is like Hashem's miracles, that you could take a body part out of one person, literally plug it into another person, and it just works.
And this was out without opening up the body?
This is without opening up the body. His body's opened up. The recipient does have an open surgery. The donor, no open surgery.
So how do they get that
It's
out?
amazing. So when I wake up, so normally what they do is, but for me they did it differently. Normally what they do is they put like 3 ports, just like a little hole into the body, and then the tools go in that hole, and a camera, and then they're operating by looking at the screen.
Oh, okay.
So, but for me, I didn't have any of those ports. All I had was one tiny incision in my belly button. Everything, all the cameras, the tools, everything went into that one incision in my belly button. That was it. So that's it. So my entire scar is about that big.
Oh, wow.
So I asked the doctor, how did you get the kidney out? Because the kidney's like the size of a fist.
Yeah.
Right? And my scar is like that big. So he said, everything stretches. Everything stretches. They stretch the body, they stretch the skin, it comes out. And that's how they did it. So, and today, my kidney recipient is as healthy as you and I. Baruch Hashem.
Wow.
In fact, he's making a wedding this week for one of his children. So, amazing. Actually, tomorrow night, he's making a wedding for one of his children. So, amazing.
Really?
Just incredible. So that feeling to give somebody back their life, to give a father back to their children, to his grandchildren, a husband back to his wife, to be even somewhat slightly responsible for that was such an incredible feeling, just amazing. So to this day, we remain friends, and we speak before every Yom Tov, and we share in each other's happy occasions, and yeah, it was an amazing experience.
Wow. Kind of sounds like when you were speaking about all the phone calls that you got that didn't end up working. It kind of sounds like the producing of this podcast. We had originally very junky equipment. From obviously you could tell from the first and second video, but we had a SD card which we really needed, and I don't know if you remember, we filmed here, and then we realized we didn't have a very important SD card. So we, went to the original place. We biked all the way to the Chabad house. We looked around my house. We looked in the rooms. We turned everything over. And we came here. We retraced our steps back to the car where we drove off and previously. Then we came to the Chabad house itself, and we couldn't find it.
Oh, wow.
And I was just thinking to myself, so we go home, and we can't find the SD card. We can't find it. I guess no episode for that. But I was just thinking to myself, how can it be? All I'm trying to do is just help other people, and this is happening. And a couple minutes later, not even joking, my brother gets a call from Schneider Garb. He says, I found the SD card in my
Oh,
car.
wow. Amazing.
And I was like, I was jumping up and down. I was very
Wow.
happy. I was thinking, like, sometimes in life you have certain moments where to get to a certain point you need.
You have to go through challenges, but every challenge that we go through and every difficulty that we go through, we know is from Hashem, and ultimately every challenge is an opportunity. And so that's how I looked at it as well. That every rejection, every time I tried to donate my kidney, and it was I wasn't a match, and I wasn't a match. Ultimately, Hashem is directing me to the right place at the right time.
Wow. And in addition to your kidney, you also donated your liver, correct?
Yeah. So what happened was that that was about 9 years later. But what happened was after I donated my kidney, the story ended up going viral, and I don't know why. Like if you Google my name, you'll see it. It ended up going viral. Like it went all over the world. There was articles in the secular press, in the Jewish press, and it went to Australia and so. And then I start getting phone calls and I start getting emails from people who were inspired by the story. They read the story and they want to donate their kidney.
Oh, wow.
And I was so incredibly touched and moved by that. All these people are donating their kidneys. There was a young man in Crown Heights at the time he was in Kail, newly married, and the story was on I think it was on COL, one of the Chabad news sites, and he kept it minimized on his computer and he'd look at it all the time, and he was so inspired from the story that he himself wanted to donate a kidney. So he called me when my wife and I come and speak to him and his wife, because he wants to do this. And we came to Crown Heights. We met with him and his wife. He ended up donating a kidney. Somebody in my shul needed a kidney, and somebody else in my Chabad house said, if my rabbi could do it, I could do it. And as you know, our friend Danny Weber donated a kidney to somebody else.
Really?
Yeah, you didn't know that?
I didn't know.
Yeah. Our friend Danny Weber donated a kidney to someone else in our community. So it ended up, I lost track of exactly how many people told me that they donated their kidneys from my story. But the last track I had was somewhere in the 50s.
Oh,
like
wow.
51 or 52, something like that. People donated their kidney. And then I'm thinking, how many did those people inspire? And how many did those people? It's like every mitzvah you do, every positive act that you do is like throwing a stone into the river, into the water, and it creates these ripples. And you don't even see how far the ripples go. And so with my kidney donation, same thing. It created all these ripples, and people were inspired to donate their kidneys. And that was just the most amazing, amazing experience to see that the effect that it had on my family, on my children, on my community, on perfect strangers who read about it, who wanted to donate their kidneys. And so I just felt like I really want to do this again. It had such an incredible effect, but now I only have one kidney and I need that one. So I started Googling, what else can I donate? And I came across that you could donate a liver, partial liver, part of your liver. And it's a much, much, much more serious surgery.
Yeah, I heard that the recovery was taking a while.
Yeah, it was a hard. In my research, I saw that it was a much harder surgery and a much harder, more difficult recovery, a much more complicated surgery, and but that wasn't the hard part. The hard part was that once I decided that I wanted to do this, I could not find any hospital that would accept me as a liver donor. I called every hospital in New York. Nobody would accept me. Now, this is back in 2018. And at that time, if you were a kidney donor, because I was already a kidney donor, no hospital would accept me to be a liver donor. Except with one exception, the Cleveland Clinic. The Cleveland Clinic said they would accept me if I would be able to pass all of the tests. and I was healthy enough, then they would consider me to be a liver donor. And so that's exactly what happened. So I I sent to my friend Chaya Lipschitz, who was my kidney matchmaker, and she sent out an email. I have somebody wants to donate their liver. If there's any recipients, she found one recipient. One person answered, and then so I went to Cleveland. I tested. I went through all the testing. It was much more extensive testing, and I come back, and the recipient backs out. He doesn't want to go to Cleveland. He doesn't want to take a liver from a father of 9 because of something would happen to me, et cetera, et cetera. Here I'm begging. I didn't speak to him, but I was speaking to his sister. I'm begging her, please don't let him back out. And she didn't want him to back out either. And I remember in the Cleveland Clinic, they said they never had a situation where the recipient is begging the donor not to back out, but he ended up backing out.
Oh, wow.
And then a miracle happened. And I didn't even know the story until many, many years after the liver donation, when I was speaking about the liver donation in a shul in Connecticut. And that shul is where the father of my recipient he was the president of that shul. And when I was speaking there, this is many years after my donation, I heard part of the story that I never knew before. And what happened was, he went to and this is a miracle. This is an absolute miracle. He went to his Chabad rabbi in Rebbitzin. He was the president of their shul, and he told them, my son, my son is like in his 40s, young man, 3 children. He said, my son is dying. He has liver disease and he's dying, and he needs a liver transplant. And he just went to his rabbi in Rebbitzin and just pouring out his heart about his son who's dying, who needs a liver transplant. And that night, the Rebbitzin goes home. Her day is finished, and she was sitting down in her recliner, and next to her is a stack of Ami magazines, and she just pulls out a magazine from the middle of the stack. And in that magazine that she pulled out was an article about Chaya Lipschitz, the kidney matchmaker. This was the day after the president of her shul told her about her son. So she sees it's kidneys, and her president needed his son needed a liver, but she decides she'll call Chaya Lipschitz anyway. This was right after my liver recipient backed out. So I told Chaya Lipschitz, find me a liver recipient. The next day, this happens, where the shlucha picks up this Ami magazine, opens it up, Chaya Lipschitz. She calls Chaya Lipschitz and she says, listen, I saw your article. I know it's only about kidneys, but would you perhaps know anyone who's willing to donate a liver? And she said, you know what? I actually do. Rabbi Simon. And that's what happened. And so that my recipient, whose name is Adam Levitz, my recipient called the Cleveland Clinic and said, could I be Rabbi Simon's recipient? They said, come to Cleveland and get tested. He came, got tested, we matched, and I think it was December 23rd, 2000, I think it was 2018, December 23rd, 18 or 19 now, I can't even remember. I donated my liver to him. A third of my liver, 33% of my liver, I donated to him. And we met the very first time the day before the surgery. We flew to Cleveland, and the hospital made a meeting, me and him and his wife, me and my wife, the nurses, the transplant team, and we met for the first time. And obviously it was a very emotional meeting, and he looked very, very, very sick. He looked like he was dying.
Oh, wow.
And in fact, his surgeon told him when they opened him up that your liver was even worse than we thought, and had you waited much longer, you would have come in a coma and not survived the surgery. And
Wow.
today, he's as healthy as you and I. It's amazing. He's totally healthy. He has a brand new liver and totally healthy. So again, that story ended up going viral. Like I said, if you Google my name, you'll see the stories. They're out there. And that story ended up going viral. And at that time, I was the 4th dual donor in America in history.
Wow.
Now there's hundreds. because now hospitals in New York started accepting kidney donors to be liver donors, etc. So then nobody would take a kidney donor, but now everyone takes kidney donors to be liver donors. So I started getting a bunch of calls when that story went viral from kidney donors who didn't know that you could donate your liver. See, people who do this, they want to do it again. It's amazing. So a bunch of something like, I don't know, 12 or 15 people donated their livers from my story, who were inspired by my story, who were previous kidney donors. So yeah, again, and like I said in the very beginning of our conversation, all I ever wanted from my life is that my life should make a difference in the lives of others, that my life should make a difference in the world, that my being here mattered and made a difference. That meant so much to me and means so much to me. And here I had this incredible opportunity and this incredible ability to be able to do this. And I felt like God blessed me with good health. And whatever blessings God gives us is meant to be shared with others. That's how we thank Hashem for the blessings that he gives us, by sharing those blessings with others. And so here I have an opportunity to take my good health and share it with two other human beings and bring them back, with God's help, with the surgeon's help, etc., bring them back to life and bring them back to good health and make a difference in their lives and the lives of their children, etc. And it was just the greatest. Like I've told both of my recipients, I received infinitely more than I gave. I remember my liver donor saying, "Oh, thank you, so I don't know how to say thank you." You don't have to say thank you. You should not say thank you. I say thank you because what I received was infinitely more than I gave. The effect that it had on the community, the effect that it had on other people, on my family, it was just the greatest gift. So yeah, these were amazing experiences, and I wish I could. I asked the Cleveland Clinic, "What else can I give?" They said,
wow.
"Rabbi Simon, stop asking that question." So okay, I can't give any more in that manner, but so now I give in other manners. I still try to give and of course still try to make a difference in the lives of others. So that's the story behind my two donations.
Wow, that's very special, and I personally never heard this story. Maybe other people know the story, but that's very powerful. And how exactly did you feel after you donated the kidney and the liver?
Well, again, I was just so grateful. Number one, grateful to be on this end of it, right?
Yeah.
I could have just easily been on that end of it. God blessed me with good health. The first thing, I was grateful to be on this end of it. The second thing, I'm so grateful that I have a partner in life, my wife, who's such a tzaddikus, who's such an incredible person, who supported me through everything. I mean, a lot of people would think, "Hey, that's crazy." And a lot of people did tell me, "Don't do this. Why are you doing this?" I can't tell you how many people told me that. Not my wife. She stood by me the entire time. She knew how much it meant to me. She knew I wanted to do this. And it wasn't easy for her. And she came to Cleveland with me, and she stayed in the hospital with me and really nursed me back to health. Because after that liver donation, the kidney donation was not such a difficult recovery. That was an easy recovery. The liver donation was a hard recovery. That was a rough recovery.
Yeah.
And my wife was there the entire time. So I was grateful, tremendously grateful that I have my wife, and she's just the biggest blessing in my life. And then I felt incredibly grateful that it had the effect that it had, and it affected so many people's lives. So I just felt grateful. I think that's the best word I could think to describe how I felt after both donations. Was I was just really, really grateful that everything went well, that both my recipients recovered well, and that it had such an incredible, profound effect on so many people. So I couldn't ask for more.
This is kind of the way that the Rebbe's approach, the Lubavitcher Rebbe, it was always about, you have a certain amount that you did more,
Yeah, I mean, listen, the Rebbe, I was going to tell you this before, but this is the Rebbe's approach in life in general, is that we're not meant to just live selfish lives, that every one of us can give and make a difference in the lives of others. And if we can make a difference in the lives of others, We must make a difference in the lives of others. So some people do it through kidney donation or liver donation, but that's not for everyone. But one of the things when I've spoken about my donations, and I've spoken so many times to different groups, including to a group of teens once I spoke to, and the message that I give them is that
Teens, listen up.
this is the message. The message is, it's not necessarily you have to donate a kidney or a liver. It's every one of us has the ability to go out of our comfort zone, to stretch ourselves a little bit, to go out of our comfort zone to help another person.
Wow.
And that was the Rebbe's message as well. That we're meant to live not just for ourselves, not just to live a selfish life and take care of ourselves, but we're meant to be there for others, physically, to be there for others spiritually, however we can help another human being, we are meant to. And that was the Rebbe's message, and that was absolutely part of the motivating factor in my donations.
So I've heard and personally experienced some incidents in my life where I gave to others, and I found very interestingly that, of course, as you told us before, the main emotion that you had was gratitude. I personally felt real, joy and happiness.
Yeah.
Because at the end of the day, in life, you can have a lot of things that are going on. You can have the best marks on your test, or, the best car or house. But really, I feel that the one thing that can bring you to true happiness is just helping others.
It's so interesting that you say that, because I believe that as well. I think sometimes people feel that, well, I have to take care of myself, and happiness will come when I take care of myself. And people try to pursue happiness and try to, I'll buy more things and that will make me happy, or I'll go on better vacations and that will make me happy. And there's sort of all those things bring sort of a temporary happiness, but then it's over and it doesn't make you any more happy. And I once had a woman come to me who was struggling to find happiness. And she read books and went to courses and did everything she could. She could not find, she wasn't happy. And she didn't know why. And so she came to me and she asked me, what's my advice? And I told her, happiness is one of those things that the more you chase it, the faster it runs away from you. Stop chasing happiness. I want you to stop for 3 months and stop even thinking about your happiness. And instead, for the next 3 months, I want you to focus on making other people happy. Go volunteer to visit children in the children's hospital, or go volunteer to visit seniors in a nursing home. Make other people happy. And that's where you'll find happiness. And it's a little bit counterintuitive, because people think, well, I have to take care of my own happiness first. When you make other people happy, when you have a positive effect on the lives of others, that ultimately brings you a deep joy and happiness that can't be achieved with any other way, with any possessions or really in any other way. So yes, you're exactly right. The more we dedicate our lives to making a difference in the lives of others, that's where our true happiness lies. Because ultimately, we're here in this world. Every one of us has a purpose. Every one of us has a mission in life. That mission in life isn't to collect the best cars or to build the biggest homes or to go on the greatest vacations. All those things are nice, and I'm not denigrating any of them. But none of them are the purpose of why we're here. Every one of us is here to make a difference. And when we live a life that parallels our purpose, that's what makes us happy.
Wow. I'm speechless when I just heard this story. But I think that's very special, and can't say I'm jealous a bit.
Okay, well, Amir Hashem, yeah, Amir Hashem. You get a little bit older, you have a kidney, you have a liver, Amir Hashem.
That's great. That's great. And if there was one message that you can give to the teens, 2025,
Yeah.
one message, what would that message be?
The message that I would give to any teen, no matter where they are or who they are, is every one of us has within us talents, strengths, abilities that God blessed us with. That's not coincidental. You may be artistic. Some people may have musical talent. Some people may have writing abilities. Some people may have oratory abilities. Everyone has their different abilities and different talents. The talents and the strengths that God gave you, if you share them with others, if you give of yourself to make a difference in the lives of the people around you, that is how you will find your greatest joy and greatest happiness and greatest source of meaning. So don't live life simply for yourself. Don't live life selfishly. Live life with a lens, with an outlook towards giving to others. And if you live such a life, there's no more rewarding way to live.
Wow. Okay, well, thank you so much, Rabbi Simon, for joining us today and sharing your story on the podcast. I appreciate a lot to hear inspiration.
This
from
was my
others.
greatest honor and pleasure. And when your podcast becomes like #1 on YouTube, you'll remember the very early podcasts and who helped get you all the way up there. This is my greatest pleasure. Thank you. Thank you for having me.